A lot of times what I tell clients when they don't want to feel something, I don't want to feel this anxiety, I don't want to feel the depression. They say the fact that you fight the emotion actually perpetuates the emotion. You actually just allow the emotion to happen, you will notice that it loses its power.
You've talked about treating and viewing pain as like another person and asking, what is it trying to tell you? And how can you befriend that person? And how can you listen to it rather than trying just to push it away? What are some actionable or tangible tips you can give people that are trying to do that same journey themselves and don't even know where to begin? Like they can't even think about their pain as a person, or what does turning inward even mean or look like?
I think what happens is when we experience pain. So pain can be a sensation in our body, right? It can be a burning sensation. It can be a tightness. It can be an electrical feeling. It's a discomfort, right? It's a discomfort. And we can talk about this on an emotional level. When we think about anxiety or depression, there's also some level of discomfort, right? If you think about anxiety, there's the racing thoughts, or there's the heart beating fast, or feeling like there's an elephant on your chest. Let's be real. It's uncomfortable. There's discomfort. Typically what we do is we fight it. So we fight it like, it could be, oh my God, here I go again. I don't want to feel this, and we're pushing and pushing and pushing. And instead, and this is going to probably make people kind of uncomfortable, is feel it. Just feel it. Okay, I can't breathe. What does that feel like? Just be in it. Because here's the thing. When we fight our pain, basically what we are telling ourselves is we can't handle it. We're undermining ourselves. And we are incredibly resilient, adaptive, resourceful. Pain is not going to kill us. It's not. And typically what happens is when we actually feel the sensation, this sounds really weird, but it's like we go from this place of feeling helpless and scared to this is just sensation. I remember having this conversation with myself. This is just sensation. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. I'm not going to die. And what I found with that is it was incredibly empowering. I went from feeling powerless to empowered because it was like, I can handle this. Do I like it? No, I don't like it. Do I want to have it? No, but I can handle it. I can feel it. I can feel the sensation. So the moment you pause and go in and just feel it, it actually loses its power over you. A lot of times what I tell clients when they don't want to feel something, I don't want to feel this anxiety, I don't want to feel the depression, I don't want to feel the grief, I don't want to feel the sadness. And when I say to them, as I said, the fact that you fight the emotion actually perpetuates the emotion. And that if you actually just allow the emotion to happen, I talk about riding the wave of emotion. If you just let it happen, what you will notice is that the typical human emotion only lasts about 45 seconds, tops. And so you feel the sensation, you feel the grief in your body. You can feel it in different kinds of ways. Maybe it's a warmth, maybe it's a tightness in the chest. But when you just allow it, you will notice that it loses its power completely. And so then when you do that, so that's the first thing. So when you say, well, what can we do? What are some really concrete steps? That's the first step. Feel it. Feel it. We are meant to feel sensation. And it's not as scary as you think it is. Once you feel it, it releases its hold on you. You're no longer powerless, but you are empowered and you are present. Does that make sense? And the very next thing is because it loses its power, it creates some space. It creates an opening. And again, you don't have to believe me. Try it. what'll happen is it'll create an opening, and it's almost like there's this clear space. And then in the clear space, you can say, okay, what do you want to tell me? What do you want to show me? What is this here for? And you will be surprised that you will get that information. Your body will speak to you, it will communicate to you. What would happen for me when I would have pain is I would tighten my body. Like I would literally tighten my body. Well, guess what would happen? When I would tighten my body, the spasms would get worse. So I was actually hurting myself by fighting and tightening. And so when I would feel the sensation and breathe through it, then what I would hear is just relax, just breathe and just relax. And it would make it easier.
I'm thinking back to previous conversations we've had about the difference between having a very like tight and constricted mind and something that's more expansive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking about this in terms of my own pain and sensations. I've been having some breathing issues myself recently. I've been having more back and shoulder pain recently. And when that happens, I think, into that really tight panic spot pretty quickly. Especially when it comes to my breathing. I've been having a lot of issues getting full, deep breaths, and it feels like I'm suffocating a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes it worse because I start to panic. I start to freak out. I start to take even like quicker breaths. I'm trying to get as much oxygen as possible. And I shut down. Like if I'm around other people, if I'm around, my partner or friends, I feel like I'm on that autopilot mode, or I'm just trying to put up a front that you can't tell I'm in pain right now. And that just makes it worse and worse. And um, I think what I'm picking up on is that maybe it's not as bad to just feel that sensation. Like for me, I feel it in my throat a lot, or I'll feel it like I get like a lot of constriction, like kind of under my chest, like kind of by my diaphragm area, and it feels like the worst pain. And so maybe the answer is just, instead of trying to push that pain away, to like actually feel that pain, which feels scary and confusing, and I'm not quite sure how to do that, but that's kind of what you're saying, it sounds like.
Yeah, because you actually described something that I think is really important. What happens when we fight something and when we get into a place of constriction, when we think about our mind and we think about our bodies, they're in constant communication. There is a feedback loop, and they're communicating with each other. And so what happens is the moment we get into constriction and tightness, that is the signal to the brain, uh-oh, I'm not okay.
Hmm.
The moment that our brain gets the message, I'm not okay, guess what happens? Our survival patterns kick in. So we get into fight or flight. We get into this place of I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe. And that is kicking in. And so we're in that survival mode, and we're going to get into our default patterns. And, again, our default patterns, the options: fight, freeze, flee, and fawn. And so what I hear you say is that you're shutting down. That's freezing. And so when you do that, you're in a place of reactivity. You're in a survival place. And
Hmm.
when we're in a survival place, our ability to respond to life is severely limited.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
I mean, I can definitely feel it. Yeah, I think when I'm in those places, I feel very limited in what I'm able to do, and I feel like I'm able to only give like kind of short responses. And
Mhm.
this happened for me even just like last week. I was driving with my partner, and I was feeling these sensations. There was something that had triggered me, and I got upset, and I started to feel these like breathing issues. And I think that the emotional thing of our fight had passed by this point, and
Mhm.
it wasn't even a fight, but just like the conflict had passed, but I was just still stuck in those physical sensations, and it made it impossible to like talk. It made it impossible to even like express how I was feeling about other things, and I feel like I could only give one word responses, and it manifested as just like this physical breath problem where I thought, if I even just speak anymore, I'm afraid I'm going to suffocate right now.
Mhm.
And so my response, I just want to like sit here and just like try not to need to breathe or move too much.
Mhm. Mhm. And I mean, I hear that and it makes a lot of sense. And the best thing that you could do in those situations is actually say to yourself, I'm okay, I'm safe. I know it sounds silly, but our brain needs to know that to be able to say, I'm safe. And then to actually do the thing that you think that you can't do. So be in that tightness and constriction and go, okay, this is just a sensation. It's a sensation of tightness. It's a sensation of constriction, and look at it as almost feedback, because the moment we go, uh-oh, something's wrong, we're kicking in the survival pattern. And as soon as we kick in the survival pattern, it is limiting our ability to respond. Like we're like an animal,
Mm.
we're in this very, very small window of capability. And so when we say to ourselves, when we're trying to shift out of that, when we say to ourselves, it's just a sensation, my body is in a place of fight or flight, and there's no reason to be because I'm safe. So what I'm going to do is I have the ability to breathe through that. Let's see if I can try to expand. Let's see. I'm feeling tight. I'm feeling constricted. Let me I actually close my eyes. It helps because it helps me focus better. But what I will do is I'll go to that place in my body. Like you're talking about your diaphragm, right? And first of all, our minds are amazing. They can do wonderful things and they can get us into a lot of trouble, and we have a tendency to let them get us into trouble rather than shifting to the place of how they can do amazing things. And so, for example, being able to go to the place of constriction, if it's your diaphragm, instead of buying into the idea, like you're buying into this idea, I'm not okay, I'm not safe, and I can't breathe, you say to yourself, this is a sensation. I'm feeling constricted in my diaphragm. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to go to the place that I feel constricted, and I'm going to imagine, I'm going to visualize taking this big, like slow, gentle breath that will expand my rib cage, that will expand my torso, and just try it and just do that. And I'd be curious, I don't know if you've ever tried anything like that, because here's the thing we do. As soon as we tell ourselves a story, we buy it. It's the truth. We take it hook, line, and sinker, and we're off to the races. And we can't do that. We have to challenge that. So sometimes, again, going back to your question of how do we make this a step-by-step process, don't get stuck in the story. Sometimes it's actually reachable. It's more reachable to go to the sensation because it's just sensation. There's no story to it. There's no truth to it. It's just a sensation. It's kind of like, we've all had the experience of, sitting on our foot and then we get the pins and needles, right? We don't freak out. We just go, uh-oh, I got pins and needles in my feet. My foot, I'm going to, I'm going to stretch the foot. I'm going to, kind of move it around. I know I'm going to get blood flow and it's going to be okay, because we know it's not a matter of life or death. But when we're in emotional places, our brain is in the life or death kind of situation. And we have to talk ourselves out of it because it's not true. Typically, it's not true.
We've talked a lot about the like method and turning to the pain and using that as a portal. I guess for me, I'm curious, if we are able to do this, what do you think is waiting on the other side for us? Because, you said you're walking away with a little more wisdom and insight. Maybe the pain itself decreases a little bit, or your experience becomes a little bit easier of that pain. But I'm wondering, like, what's the benefit of trying out this new approach to pain rather than just continuing on the autopilot that we have been on up to this point?
If we stay in status quo, and status quo is about fighting it, right? In some way, right? Whether we're pushing it away, whether we're ignoring it, whether we're dissociating, whether we're making it wrong. Basically, we're fighting it. That's status quo. What what happens is we stay engaged in it, but we stay engaged in it in a very helpless kind of way because we don't believe that there's anything we can do about it. And so, what's on the other side of this is when we lean into it and we lean into and we experience the sensation. what it does for us is it takes us from this place of reactivity and fighting and feeling powerless to a place of empowerment, because it's first of all, we're proving to ourselves, I can survive this. I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to die. Our brain is really doing this. Our brain is thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. And so being able to show yourself, okay, I can experience this sensation. It's uncomfortable, but I can do it. Right there, it's going to give you some sense of power. So
Hmm.
there's that part of it. And I think that's really important, because most people are exerting a lot of energy fighting it. And fighting it keeps you attached and embroiled in it. It just stuck in that pattern, which is miserable. And so leaning into that sensation creates that sense of power. And that's important. And then once you're able to do that, it also creates that space where you can say, what can I do with this? What is going to serve me? What is it showing me that I need to do to take care of myself? So it shifts you from this place of panic and powerlessness. It shifts you to this place of empowerment and your capability of being able to take care of yourself.
What I think we've been talking about a lot through this journey is how to step into a place of empowerment, which I know is something that I'm interested in. I know you're interested in. I feel like a lot of our listeners are too. And what I really like about this is power to you is not the absence of pain. It's not conquering pain or succeeding from pain. It's actually like sitting with the pain and like letting it exist in your field of experience, and then figuring out like what story you want to tell about that pain, what existence or reality you want to live in with that pain. And hopefully there's a world in which that pain dissipates. I feel like this is maybe a way for that to happen. But more than anything, it's not about pushing it away. It's about almost kind of bringing it closer in a way, which feels very counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what I'm hearing you talk about this week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is counterintuitive, because we think that the fighting it is going to make it go away. And actually, the fighting it makes it bigger. And I also think it's important. I know that we focused mostly on physical pain today, Esteban, but this actually, it translates for emotional pain as well. We can have exactly the same conversations when we're talking about, sadness or grief, or if we're talking about anxiety, or if we're talking about depression, because the dynamic is the same. Many of us, when we experience emotional pain, and so let's think about anxiety, we're also fighting it. We're fighting the sensations in our body. And when we do exactly the same thing and go, okay, this anxiety is in my body, and it's manifesting in the form of my heart racing, or I can't catch my breath. That's just a sensation, and I can breathe through that, and I can release that, and then I can ask myself, what is the anxiety showing me? Just like if you were talking to a friend, what do you want to tell me? What's happening for you? How can I help you? It's the same thing. So whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, relationship-based pain, spiritual pain, the process is the same.
And I think what I'm hearing from you is something that you've been talking about this whole journey, which is that the wisdom and the guidance and the direction that we're all craving is already inside of us. Like we already have
Mhm.
everything we need. It's not some external thing or some external course or guru that you need to follow to be able to find this. It's actually inside of you, even in the places you might not think to look, like pain, for example. It might not be a pleasant or beautiful thing inside of you, but it is something that you already possess. And the way to step into a rewritten story, the way to step into power, the way to step into a new life for yourself is just by learning to listen a little bit more closely to these things that are already inside of you.
Exactly. This is just another form of ownership. This whole challenge is about owning your story, right? This is the whole message. And there's so many layers to this in terms of ownership. This is another layer of ownership. It's owning the experience. Don't turn away from it. Don't fight it. Don't run from it. Lean into the experience. I am uncomfortable right now. I am feeling these very uncomfortable sensations in my body, and they're mine. I'm going to own them. I'm going to be in them, and I'm going to trust that not only can I handle it, but I can get onto the other side of that, and I can understand, I can hear what the message is that this pain is trying to deliver. Because at the end of the day, that is the purpose of pain. The purpose of pain is to deliver an important message to you so you are able to take care of yourself. That's really what it boils down to.
That's great. I love that. I feel like that's, I think, a perfect place to end our conversation. That's kind of a big mic drop moment about what pain is and how it works. And I'm definitely gonna be walking away with a lot of these ideas, and I want to start to try these on for size for myself. It scares me a little bit, I'd say, just because the pain can be so scary and overwhelming. But I really appreciated this conversation today to ease some of the stakes maybe, and make it just a little bit easier to approach pain, not as this really scary, terrifying thing, but as something that actually could be a friend on your journey to empowerment. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope that it's helpful, and I hope that it helps our listeners embrace their own messiness of their humanity,
Right,
because that's what
right.
it's all about.
I'm really excited for the last 4 weeks of this journey, which are coming up next, which are all about, now that we've identified our stories, now that we're owning them, how do we begin to rewrite our story to move towards new ones, towards empowerment? I think this is a perfect segue into that. So I'm excited to continue the conversation going forward.